Howdy, my name is Isadronic, and I currently serve as a Student Success Coordinator with the Graduate and Professional School. I hope all of you are doing well and enjoying your graduate student orientation so far. Great to have all of you join us both in person and virtually for our distance graduate student panel breakout session. We encourage your participation, and please put your questions in the chat. We'll try to get to them. And in a few minutes, I'd like to have the panel introduce themselves. We were going to ask your name, department, and degree pursuing, hometown, and where they completed previous degrees. I will ask questions to the panel about life as a graduate student at Texas A&M, particularly as a distance student. I will we'll see if we have time again for question and answer. And with that, I am going to hand it over finally to our panel, Alyssa, Whitney, and Stephen. So I see Whitney first, and then we'll go with Stephen and then Alyssa.
Really quickly, I'm Whitney Kelly. As you can see, I'm in a book room at a high school, early college high school. I teach high school English. I am pursuing a degree in curriculum and instruction with the emphasis in literacy. So that is in teaching, learning, and culture. I got my undergrad many years ago at the University of North Texas. And I am happy to answer questions for those of you who may be later in years and wondering about your decision to go back. So I live in the Dallas area and have done all of my classes online and virtually so far. So
great, thank you, Whitney. And then Stephen.
Hi, all. My name is Stephen Mccapigal. I am pursuing a master's in statistics and originally from Houston, and got my undergrad at UT Austin in economics and math. And if you would like, you can ask me about like transitioning to a new career. That's my situation.
Thank you, Stephen. Alyssa?
Hello, I'm Elisa, and I'm pursuing a Master's of Agriculture in Poultry Science. I'm in El Paso, Texas. I got my undergrad at University of Phoenix, where I also pursued it in distance learning. I've been in a university setting since my associates, which I got at Utah Valley University. I love distance learning because I love independent study. I also work full-time while going to school. I always have. So I've also done career transition, and I've also done working full-time while doing distance learning. So those are all questions I'm happy to share about.
Great, thank you, Elisa. I apologize for mispronouncing your name. So, but seeing how you provided your background, how about we start with you with this question? What are some of the unique challenges that you experienced as a distance education graduate student, and how did you navigate through your first semester? And then I'll ask Whitney and Stephen to chime in.
Probably one of the biggest challenges that I face, and I'm still learning how to navigate. I'm in a different time zone. I'm in Mountain Standard. I also work full-time during business hours, and I chose to participate in the Grad Aggie certificate, the Learning and Development certificate. But a lot of the challenges I faced was a lot of the classes that let you get your additional credits. I was working normally, so I would have to try to look way ahead and see if it was on a day I wasn't working, or try to move shifts around at work. That's something I've kind of dealt with. Last semester, I actually did have to drop a class and add a different class because as we went into the class, I learned we would be doing last minute meetings. And a lot of the other distance learning students work 9 to 5. I don't. I'm an assistant manager at a retail store. So I'll go in anywhere from 6 a.m. and get out at like 10:30 p.m. So they could all meet at 5 p.m. That was in the middle of our peak business hours. So I went to my work and I told them like there's going to be some days that I might just have to switch with other supervisors that could possibly, luckily I work with amazing supervisors that will switch days with me, either an open shift for a closed shift. If I'm the opening manager, I'll switch them for their closing manager position. So those are some things. A lot of it is communication, like being comfortable telling people what's going on, going to my fellow managers and being like, hey, I have a class meeting. I really can't miss it. Could I either like take my lunch at this time? If I come back from lunch a little late, is that okay? So luckily I'm in a work environment that's very understanding and supportive of that. But a lot of it is planning ahead, asking questions, emailing people. And I had emailed the graduate committee more than a few times being like, hey, could we look at moving some of these to offer them later? Because the middle of the day is really inconvenient when you're a full-time working adult that has to work. Well, that's why I do distance learning. But a lot of it is just like communication, emailing, planning ahead, and learning to share with people like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want to help out. Is there a way that you could also help me fit this into a schedule?
Thank you for the information that you provided. Definitely very helpful for people to hear that. Thank you. Whitney?
I would say when I first started, a lot of it was technology fatigue because I was teaching online. And so I was on Zoom with my high school students 7, 8 hours a day, would rush home and then jump on a class for 3 hours at night. And so it was very easy to get fatigued. So I would say set up a work area where you can have your water, have all the things kind of near you, but avoid distractions, because if you're in a tech heavy day and then you're jumping on tech again at night, you can get that tech fatigue. And so plan that. And then I said no to a lot of other Zoom happy hours, Zoom book clubs. I limited my other technology obligations and made this the priority. There were several other things that I did, but I would say that was the biggest factor, was just the tech fatigue of, going from 9 a.m. in the morning till 4:30 at school, coming home, jumping on at 5:30 and going again until 8:30. So a lot of it was boundaries, being prepared, and knowing what my limits were.
Thank you, Whitney. Stephen?
I agree with those, with all of what's just been said. Definitely tech fatigue is a big thing. And then absolutely like setting up boundaries. I think the biggest thing that was hard was like, there's a lot of new information coming in, and this is like a very new thing that you're trying to adjust to. Like starting your first semester of graduate school is certainly a lot different, from working a full-time job, and it's certainly a lot different from your undergrad. And so for me, it was setting up like a hard stop. It's really easy to get like bogged down in trying to figure out the information that you're just processing. And so saying that I'm going to stop at, this time, and I'm not going to work after that. You could easily think like, oh, but, I'm not going to get all of it done. But, you have to protect your mental health. You have to protect, your personal time, because you are a person outside of graduate school. And I think that was the thing that I had to stay true to, especially that first semester.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate your insight as well. I know I had some questions for y'all, but I want to make sure to touch upon some questions that I'm receiving too. And here's one that maybe y'all could provide some information to. How many hours did each of you take a semester while working full-time? Is it doable to do 6 hours at a time while working full-time and having young children at home or other obligations?
I took 6 credits, and I still do because I need to qualify for financial aid. So it is doable. It's not easy. Just like Whitney and Stephen were saying, boundaries. A lot of times, especially as we're going into a huge retail season, the holiday season, before I went to school, I would usually be the person that's like, yes, I'll stay because we had a call out. Yes, I'll stay because we need to get this done. And I had to learn to be like, no, I can't. I'm sorry. I was supposed to leave at this time. I need to leave. I have, 3 hours for each class of watching lectures, doing my studies, doing my homework, and I'm back here again at 5 a.m. So it is doable, but I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy. But it's like all of the other two panelists said, so much planning ahead, boundaries, saying no, and then learning to take a break for yourself. And that I had to learn to do too.
Anyone else, Whitney or Stephen, want to chime in on that?
I took 6 hours as well, and I would say it depends on the course. This summer I took courses, and when I saw the load of one of them that was a through course that lasted all 10 weeks, and knew the other obligations that I had, you know, I dropped one. I'm still going to graduate in the time frame that I did, taking 6 hours each regular semester. But you know, like Elisa said, communicating with others, I think part of it is being self-aware and knowing, you know, anticipating what are your obligations going to be, what are your limits, can you reasonably spend, you know, that much time, and talk to other people, build those connections. That is one thing with distance learning. It's difficult. Get on a group meet the people in your Canvas discussions, make those connections, and meet those people who have taken those classes before you, because they can tell you about the course load. And that helped me to do some juggling and rearranging my schedule so that I did not have two reading heavy classes together, just because, you know, for my schedule, I know what I have to do. And I know in the course of teaching, you know, when my heavy grading and tutorials and all of that is. So all of that kind of goes together. But just like communicating with other people, you've got to be honest with yourself. It may sound like a great idea to take that much. It may just not be feasible for a semester. And so you have to be realistic.
Thank you, Whitney. Appreciate that. Stephen, would you have anything, or we can move on? I just want to make sure that everyone has opportunity.
No, I definitely agree. I've been taking 6 hours per semester as well. And in certain semesters, it was a lot harder to do than in other semesters. Again, it just depends on the content of that course. I ended up taking 6 hours over a summer, which was very, very difficult. Did not realize that was full time at first. And then I got like a little notification like, oh, that's a full-time load. So I was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But 6 hours, yes, you might have to make sacrifices to like get everything done. Obviously, like sometimes there were weekends that I was like just constantly working, but again, still had to, you know, set boundaries for myself even for that. But I want to highlight what Whitney was just saying, because it's definitely true. Like, you need to build a community with those people that are in your distance program, because even though it's distance, that doesn't mean it doesn't mean zero interaction. For our program, there's a Discord group that, you know, most of our students are on, and it's a great way of like creating study groups. It's a great way of discussing things, you know, about like different courses. Getting career advice, and it's just helpful because everyone is in the same boat. And so then you know that those experiences are common, rather than the people that are local. And so that was one thing that helped a lot.
Thank you, you three, for sharing that. I got another question from someone online. Let me see if I can scroll back up and find it. All right, this actually segues into what y'all were discussing about networking and making sure to keep connected. Someone said they're concerned that distance learning will feel very isolating. Are there opportunities for collaboration or discussion with other distance learning students, maybe that you haven't discussed yet, or some other ideas to, you know, make sure that everyone who's online, a distance learner, can keep engaged?
Isa, can I answer that one before I drop off?
Yes, Whitney, go ahead.
Just because of the nature of our program, curriculum, and instruction, I have partnered up with folks, and we're kind of matriculating through at the same pace. And it seems odd that I haven't met some of these ladies in person, but we text one another, we celebrate each other, you know, like we're sharing pictures of our kids, you know, doing whatever or going back to school, sending each other, you know, happy back to school messages. So you really can cultivate that relationship, but you have to be intentional about it. I'm going to backpedal on that and say you have to set boundaries, because people will take from you what you're willing to give. So set those boundaries. But it is absolutely critical to do that. We had a very difficult class this summer, and I don't think that any of us would have made it through had we not had each other for that moral support. Every week when that due date, that 11:59 submission was coming up on that weeknight, we literally were in the group me chat, Whitney, you can do it. You can do it. Type that last, get that reference in, get that citation in. You can, real time cheering in the group me. And that is truly what got plenty of us through that class, was that camaraderie that we had built. So it is a real fear. It is a sincere fear. But it can be overcome, but you have to be intentional about it. And you guys, I'm dropping off, but I put my email in the chat. I've got a substitute cover in my class. They have this thing about watching the children. So you're welcome to email me with questions. And I just kind of put a little bit about who I am. And I'm so sorry that I have to drop off, but I wish you all the best. It has been the best decision I've ever made. And Giga Maggies, whoop, whoop. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Whitney. Thank you for joining us. And like Whitney said, her contact information is in the chat. So feel free to reach out to Whitney if you have any questions. Stephen or Lisa, would you like to answer that question about being isolated, things to do to make sure that to stay engaged? Are there opportunities for collaboration?
Yeah, I guess I'll elaborate a little bit more. So I think some other students prior, like in a year prior, had established that Discord group, and it's a pretty it's a thriving group, I would say. And you get to meet people that have, started the program at different points in time, because our program is, it's not really cohort based. It's definitely move at your own pace. But it's really helpful to see like what happened in prior semesters. What were professors like? What was the course load like? If you took certain classes in combination with each other, what did that look like? And that also helped alleviate a lot of this imposter syndrome that Whitney mentioned in the chat. My first semester, I was constantly researching things outside of class, and I was like, am I doing this right? I feel like, this is something that I'm really interested in and have studied a lot before, but why am I not getting it? Why do I have to go and find a lot of resources just to understand the basics? And I felt so alone in that. And then when I started, meeting people in this program and studying with them and talking with them, and everyone's kind of realized that everyone was in the same boat. Everyone was saying, oh yeah, I'm just as lost as you. I'm like, oh, okay. That's okay, that's normal. And so, if you're going through this and you think this feels really foreign to me, what am I doing with this? Talk to other people, and you will probably find that people are going through the same thing that you're going through. And especially, going through this program, I thought, I was originally a teacher for, 6 years. Doing middle school and high school math, and decided to make a career shift. And I thought oh, okay, this will be really cool because I've taught statistics before. This is kind of my wheelhouse, and this is the thing I like to read about. And being super overwhelmed, I thought, okay, is this the right move for me? Did I make a mistake doing this? And then realizing that, oh, if everyone is in the same boat as me, if everyone is starting in the same place, then I got into this program. There's a reason I got into this program. I have a reason for doing the things that I want to do. Then I will find a way to make it work.
Thank you, Stephen and Elisa. I think this is going to be the last comment that we're able to take today. So I will let you provide your insight on this, because it is definitely an important thing for distance learners to hear.
Yeah, I would probably build off of what both Whitney and Stephen said. When I started my program, I'd also been out of my bachelor's for a long time, my bachelor's program. I was also a huge career shift. I used to be an animal trainer and performer. I did live animal performances. I was in the zoo field for over a decade. So I went into this program because I love birds. I've worked a lot with them. There's a lot of bird information. And even having worked with a lot of different veterinarians in some of my classes as I was going into it, like Stephen, I found myself doing a lot of outside research. I found myself having to try to remember stuff that I had taken years ago and trying to remember all of that and being like, well, I've seen some of this in real life. I've been there for a lot of surgeries, but I am not remembering some of this. Or, and also to that feeling of like, am I the only one that's like seriously struggling with that? And it wasn't just my first semester, it was also even into my second semester, my spring. I was in some of the heavier classes that were now hybridized because they were doing a little bit of hybridized by spring. And I like that feeling of like, my goodness, like, am I the only one that is spending so many hours outside of just the hours of class? And come to find out I wasn't. And that class had actually an app called Slack, was the professor had started it. Dr. Athries had started the Slack because he knew that students could feel that way. And he knew that it was something collaboration. And also why he started it is because he was even saying in the science field, there's a lot of collaboration. You reach out to a lot of colleagues asking for input. And I'd seen this too with the veterinarians I'd worked with, reaching out to other veterinarians that have done surgeries that they were now faced with. And it's not just something you're going to learn in grad school. It's something you're going to learn in a career field, especially in the sciences, is reaching out to colleagues, asking for input. There's no shame in that. You're not doing something wrong by saying that you need help. And you're not doing something wrong by realizing that maybe in that moment you feel in over your head. It doesn't mean that you are, and it doesn't mean you'll stay that way. Like, it's momentary. And it's okay to like have those moments of like questioning. I've had those self-doubt moments, those questioning moments of like, did I pick the wrong career? Did I pick the wrong degree? Am I the only one like drowning in this? And like Stephen and Whitney were saying, no, you're not. You're not. So don't feel ashamed of feeling that way. Don't be afraid to ask for help, or even reach out, like how they were saying, to research classes ahead of time. When I was signing up for this fall, because the catalog got cut really soon because they decided to go back to normal operation, I was emailing a ton of different doctors and being like, hey, I can't find true distance learning classes. Like, I found one in my own department that I could even take. And a lot of the doctors, when I emailed them, were so nice. They were like, wow, you're not the only one even experiencing this challenge. Here, like, here's the counselor for our department. Like, reach out to her, ask her about classes. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to send emails. There's nothing wrong with that. And that helps too. Ask questions because you're probably not alone. In fact, I guarantee you're not alone. Like, everyone's feeling this. So just recognize it, realize it's temporary. You will feel something different. And ask for help and reach out to people because they can often help you feel less isolated.
Thank you, Elisa and Stephen, for your input, your insight on distance learning, distance education with the Texas A&M University programs that y'all are in. Definitely very helpful to hear all of this. And if there are any questions, can we forward them to you? Any lingering questions? Maybe y'all can provide insight on that.
Yeah, sure.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. And yeah, I appreciate all your help, and we're going to be transitioning now to the next breakout session. Thank y'all. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Lisa, again for your insight. Appreciate it.